Good morning, everyone. Everyone at home that's streaming with us today. It's wonderful to feel your presence, even though we can't be in the room together. Missing you all, but thank you for being with us today. So we have a few announcements to make. So you can, today is our lunch bunch. So join us about 10 minutes following the service for our monthly lunch bunch, a wonderful opportunity to see and catch up with community. Make yourself a lunch and break bread with us and join in the fellowship. The Zoom link came out on Wednesday's newsletter. If you can't find it, please contact either Heather or Reverend Dusty. And August is a very special month for all of us at the Triangle Center for Spiritual Living. The theme of the month is Inclusion in Action. Over the course of the month, we will have 3 guest speakers and 2 interactive workshops. Please plan on joining us for one or all of them. The lineup is as follows. Today, we have Reverend RAFE ELLIS will speak to us from Grass Valley, California. Rev RAFE is the Senior Minister of the Sierra Center for Spiritual Living. He also serves at the organizational level as a member of the Centers for Spiritual Living Nominating Council and as a commissioner on the Centers for Spiritual Living Diversity and Inclusion Commission. His talk title today is Come On In, the Water's Fine. On Sunday, August 16th, join Reverend Darrell Jones as he returns to our community after a long absence. Reverend Darrell Jones is a spiritual director, minister, and teacher who provides loving, nurturing, and transformative one-on-one and group learning experiences. His talk title is Colorblind or Colorful. And then on Sunday afternoon, following his Sunday message, join Reverend Darrell for an interactive workshop on Zoom. The workshop is called Seeing the Full Color Spectrum, Unlocking the Filters of Our Living to Experience the Full Spectrum of God's Expression. That sounds wonderful. He says, through presentation, dialogue, and spiritual exercises, we'll explore this natural tendency of our eyes, mind, and even body to filter out the full expression of God. Whether we call it bias, prejudice, selective vision, or hearing, we all experience or welcome that which we know. What if we expand that which we know or understand? What else is of God is there to experience? The workshop will be from 12:30 to 1:45. There's a suggested love offering of $20. You can register on our website at trianglecsl.org. You'll receive the Zoom link after you register. And then on Sunday, August 23rd, join Penelope Gardner and Jack Deniston from Braver Angels as they talk about polarization. Their talk is called Let's Get Together and Be All Right. Jack says, the way we talk within our groups about people who are in other groups is important. If we talk about the others in a respectful way, good things can happen. If, on the other hand, we talk about the others in a disrespectful way, we become more and more polarized, and it becomes more and more difficult to find common ground and to find a way forward through the many challenges that we face today. They will share their own personal stories of their own personal growth and development and the impact that that's had on their relationships and way of being in the world. Later that afternoon, following the service, please join us for a Braver Angels Skills for Bridging the Divide workshop. There's a lot of stress these days among family members and friends who are divided politically, and the current polarized public conversation doesn't help. The workshop will assist us to learn the skills for having respectful conversations that clarify differences, search for common ground, and affirm the importance of the relationship. The invitation is to do the first part of the work by yourself by going to their website, and you can probably see that up here. Then on August 23rd, you will have a chance to practice skills with a partner while being guided in the use of these skills. So all of that coming up this month. I hope that you'll join us. And so our theme for 2020 is 2020 Spiritual Vision. Our August theme is Inclusion in Action. And Rev Rafe's talk title today is Come On In, the Water's Fine. I'm now going to read this community's purpose statement. This is our reason for being here. Our purpose is to inspire, educate, and empower individuals to experience themselves as unique and individualized expressions of God, the love intelligence that governs the universe. We are committed to not merely a theoretical understanding of our oneness and unity with God, but to consciously practice this truth in our everyday lives. Through celebration, service, study, and fellowship, we are committed to the transformation of our personal lives into being a powerful and beneficial presence on the planet. With the energy of unconditional love, simply, we are here. So it is. So I now invite you to close your outer eyes with the deep cleansing breath, allowing yourself to fully arrive in this moment, turning within to that place in each of us where the divine hangs out. From that place, allow the healing sounds of the crystal bowls to make their way through each and every cell, every part of your being.
I invite you to begin to bring your attention back into your bodies and into your room, and remain turned within as I speak a word of invocation upon our service today. Truly recognizing that there is a power and presence in the universe, a power and presence that is everywhere at all times, a power and presence that is that intelligence that is back of everything that there is, a power and presence that is the very essence of peace, abundance, creativity, and unconditional love, a power and presence that is the very presence of Spirit itself. I know that I am one with this power and presence, that it is that which created me out of itself in a moment of unconditional love, that it is that which breathes me, supports me, guides me, guards me, and loves me. And just as I know that this is my truth, I know that it is the truth of each and every person here in the sanctuary, each and every person on Facebook, each and every person connecting with Zoom, each and every person on the planet. We are all divine emanations of the divine, ambassadors of its presence on the planet. And it is from that place of unity that I bless our time together, calling it good and very good, even as it is just beginning, knowing that it is a divine appointment that God is having through and as each of us, individually and together as the Triangle Center for Spiritual Living. I bless Mark Daly and Heather Abbott as they anchor our AV and production team this morning. I bless our practitioners, Jim Rigsby and Michelle Love, as they come forward to share their gifts and their consciousness, knowing that everything that they do to serve this community is done from a space of unconditional love. I bless Sandy Hemingway as he comes forward to share his gift of music today and inspire us. And I bless Reverend RAFE ELLIS as he comes forward to share his wisdom and his depth of consciousness and his love of life and his deep and abiding awareness of oneness. And so I know that this day flows with grace and with ease, and we simply allow it to do so by saying, and so it is, and so it is. Amen. It is now my pleasure to welcome to the podium licensed spiritual practitioner and ministerial school student, Jim words be.
Hello, everyone. It's now time for the blessing of all faiths. And I'm going to have my lovely assistant, Michelle Love, with me today. The Triangle Center for Spiritual Living honors the diversity and threads of truth that run through all spiritual paths as represented by this ceremony. Christianity is the path of Christ consciousness, love, and forgiveness. Buddhism is the path of compassion and understanding. Judaism is the ethical path of living by sacred law. Baha'i is the path of unity and peace. Islam is the path of submission to the will of God, the highest calling. Confucianism is the path of deliberate tradition. Taoism is the natural way, the path of ultimate reality. Native American practice and shamanic traditions are the paths of primal spirituality. Shintoism is the path of tribal ancestry. Hinduism is the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. Science of mind and spirit is the path of the divine principle of love and law. And the heart represents the one heart, the one love that resides at the center of all people and all beings everywhere with no exceptions. May peace prevail on earth through the followers of all paths. And so it is. Thank you, Michelle. The reading today is called Integrity of the Person from the Inward Journey by Reverend Dr. Howard Thurman. There is something strangely comforting and reassuring about the private pretensions under which we live. It is a matter of no little significance to know that for each of us there is a world apart in which the intimacy of thoughts and feelings may be safe from attack and violation. Much of what we mean by communication is limited to the deliberate choosing of thoughts, ideas, sentiments, feelings, which we direct towards others, yielding only the meaning that we intend, which may not be the meaning that is either true or honest. In time, we develop a dependence upon the impact which we make on others as the major source from which we draw an understanding of ourselves. I am impressed by the stories which have come to us concerning the life of the American Indian at a time far removed from the present. To him, so the accounts reveal, the Great Spirit brooded over all of life in general and particular. Before he went hunting, he invoked the Great Spirit. When crops were planted, when there was death and birth, he invoked the Great Spirit. In time, all the common and special experiences of life were seen as being under the scrutiny and sponsorship of the Great Spirit. This meant that there was ever available the opportunity and the necessity for being genuine. The wall between the inner and the outer was very thin and transparent. peace. There is a great love. And I know that as Spirit. Spirit is the great life. And I know that that life is my life too. And as it is my life, I know that it is the life of each person within the sound of my voice, each person in the entire universe. So I give great thanks to know this, knowing our unity. And so from this place of unity, I speak a word of blessing on Reverend RAFE, knowing that he is the perfect person to speak to us today, that the beautiful words of Spirit flow through him, that the peace and the love that is Spirit flows through him. And I know through song that Sandy Hemingway, as he comes forward to use his beautiful gift of music, that he speaks to our hearts and our minds. For this day I am grateful, and so it is. So I'd like to introduce Sandy Hemingway.
Good morning, everyone. This is a song I wrote a few years ago, and since you're home and watching wherever you are with whoever you are with, the song has a simple chorus, so when you hear it, if you feel like singing, definitely sing out loud there at home. This is called Let It Flow. Take a moment, take a breath. Silence all the voices in your head. You don't have to force it. You get to where you go. In your place of peace, you'll find the flow. Let it flow, let it flow. Perfection is around you, let it flow. Find your fear, let it go. Perfection is around you, let it flow. Make a promise, make a vow. Don't believe the can't inside you now. You are just a channel, and God already knows. In your place of peace, you'll find the flow. Let it flow, let it flow. Perfection is around you, let it flow. Find your fear, let it go. Perfection is around you, let it flow. Let it flow, let it flow. Perfection is around you, let it flow. Find your fear, let it go. Perfection is around you, let it flow. Let it flow, let it flow. Perfection is around you, let it flow. Find your fear, let it go. when you find your place of peace. Perfection is around you, let it flow.
Good morning, Triangle Center for Spiritual Living. Thank you so very much for joining us. It is now my pleasure and my honor to introduce to you our guest speaker today. Reverend Rafe A. Ellis is a speaker, counselor, master teacher, and lifelong social justice activist. He is the senior minister of the Sierra Center for Spiritual Living in Grass Valley, California. Reverend Rafe holds a BA in clinical social work, an MBA in organizational psychology and development, a certificate in ministerial education, and an MA in consciousness studies. Reverend Deborah L. Johnson, founding minister and president of Inner Light Ministries, says, Reverend Rafe is one of the most promising ministerial students I have ever had. He is truly someone with a call on his life. His wisdom is profound, his heart an open embrace, and his words cut straight to the chase. He is a true ally in the world of healing and transformation in his uncompromising stand for oneness, and I don't find too many people who can actually stand there as he does. I expect great things out of his career. It is now, I am so excited to introduce you to my friend, Reverend Rafe Ellis.
We good now? All right, here we go. So good morning. I am Reverend Rafe Ellis, and we finally figured this bilocation thing out. I'm here, you're there, we're together. I'm pretty sure this is oneness in action. It's also a pleasure to be speaking with folks back in North Carolina because I don't have to translate for most of you. I realized when I moved to California, I was bilingual. I speak English and Southern. I was born and raised in Virginia and claim Asheville, North Carolina as my home. And so it is just my heart's pleasure to be with you this morning. So we're going to talk about inclusion. And the original title was Let's Get Together and Feel All Right. And let's get together resonates with me, but if we only get together because it feels all right, we ain't never going to get together. That's just true. If we let our feelings guide how inclusive we experience oneness, we will always experience only my oneness. Because this idea of a comfort zone, I have come to understand is the greatest prison that I have ever been in. Because once I get comfortable, I don't want to leave there. Viktor Frankl says that the greatest prison, the most effective prison, are the ones we don't even know we're in because we make no effort to escape. My comfort zone became such a prison. And inclusion literally requires that there is no comfort zone, that there is constant curiosity. A curiosity that understands that you are within me and I am within you. Years ago, I learned how to do lapidary work. And for those of you who are not familiar with that term, lapidary is polishing stones. And it's interesting to me, particularly in North Carolina, there is some amazing star ruby in North Carolina. And most of it, if it were in your driveway, you'd just run back and forth over it with your vehicle and never even know that you're running over a semi-precious stone that contains within it an amazing star ruby, because it just looks like a rust-colored rock. And I think there's an analogy here for us, if we're willing to lean into it, that inclusion is the effect of creation. What we're really talking about when we talk about inclusion in action is experiencing what already is. See, that brilliance, that star ruby is already inside that rust-colored rock. The star sapphire is already in that gray rock in the driveway. We don't have to put it there. And too many of us think about inclusion as we have a container and we're trying to bring other things into it. We're trying to bring other people into our container. The very fact that we think we have our container is the starting point for healing. Because in oneness, I'm pretty sure there's only one container. So there can't be your container and my container. There's just an infinite, expanding container that everything is already in. Our opportunity is to remove everything in our consciousness, everything operating in our belief system, everything operating within how I live my life, to remove everything that hides the gifts that are already there. That is the activity of becoming inclusive. It's interesting to me, and I'll own that I'm on a bit of a jag with this one right now, is I hear so many of us say, Ernest Holmes told us to be for something and against nothing. And actually, that's not what he said. What he actually said was, show me one person who is for something and against nothing, who has redeemed themselves from the burden of their soul. See, being for something and against nothing, that's inclusion. And when he phrases it as the effect of redeeming ourselves, of emancipating ourselves from the burden of our own consciousness. See, that's the mandate, is to emancipate ourselves from the limitations of our little thinking. And we get to do that. And I say get to, because let's be clear, you don't got to. All right? I don't know what you grew up with in the South, but I grew up with, I ain't better got to do nothing. And we don't got to, but we get to. We get to daily, minute by minute, breath by breath, remind ourselves of the magnificence of the one. We get to remind ourselves that when I'm looking at you, looking at me, It is God looking at God looking at God, because God is all there is. So it has to be that way. And what if our starting point for living an inclusive life was simply to be curious? What if that rock in the driveway, we picked it up and wondered, wonder what's inside there? Because there's got to be an inside if there's an outside, right? And so we start removing everything. So how the heck does this translate to people? Simply this. When you meet someone, who are they? Not what's on their outside, but what's on their inside. Now, you're not going to peel away their outside, but what you are going to begin to do is peel away your beliefs about their outside. Studies have consistently shown that we form an assessment, an opinion of a human being within 3 seconds of laying eyes on them. We look at their body weight, we look at their hair, we look at their eyes, we look at their skin, and bam, we have an opinion. Now, most of you would look at me and instantly see a still somewhat overweight, white male. And I'd love to flatter myself and say in my 40s, but let's be clear, we're not. I'm not. And so you're going to see the gray hair, and you're going to have an opinion about that. And you're going to think you know something about me. And you will be so completely incorrect. Because when you look at me, what you don't see is the first 43 years of my life that I spent as a female. What you don't see is my brown-skinned wife. What you don't see are the struggles of having been an out vocal lesbian 5 minutes from Billy Graham's house. See, you don't see any of that when you look at the package. And so I invite you to dare to challenge the limitations of your own consciousness, of your own biases. Get just that whole guilt and shame thing, knock it off. Really. All it does is serve to double padlock your cell door to your comfort zone. Oh, I feel so guilty. I'm so full of shame for all of these biases. Really? Why? You didn't put them there. You were born into them. And so we can stay in that place of guilt and shame and do nothing other than feel miserable. Or we can recognize that, I was handed a pack of lies that no longer serve me. Because let's be clear, they served us for a while, especially those that have white skin. We have benefited from white privilege. That is not an accusation. It's just a fact. Our starting line is way ahead of other folks. And yes, there are different categories of marginalization. There absolutely are. And that's a dance that we have to do to reconcile, because one of the dangers, and I've been guilty of it myself, is we get into whose oppression is worse competition. Okay? Because, let's see, I've been oppressed as a female, I've been oppressed as a poor person, I've been oppressed as a lesbian, I've been oppressed as a transgender man, I've been oppressed as a man married to a mixed-race woman, blah, blah, blah. So what? So what? I've also been rained on. I've been caught in a hurricane. I've been hit by another vehicle while I was driving my vehicle. But I don't lean into those things as reasons not to go outside. Pay attention to the puzzle that you're putting together with your own consciousness, because that is the prison that you're building for yourself. This is about freeing you first. I am a firm believer, folks, if I will not include every messy moment of me, I won't include anything about you. Because I'm constantly looking, as long as we have those wounded places inside of us that we don't want to touch, that we don't even want to look at, we will build a case and we will connect with people who validate our limitations. Do your own work first. Lean into examining the soup that you're swimming in. What are the ingredients in your consciousness? You get to change them. Because the beautiful part of reality is the exact same consciousness that builds our prison, frees us from it. I'll say that again. The exact same consciousness that builds our prison frees us from it. And so you lean in and you sit with your thoughts. And I invite you, step one is awareness. Just observe. Just observe what you're thinking. No differently than if you were looking out the window of your home, observing what's outside. You just notice. Don't label it. Don't judge it. Just notice it. And then ask yourself, how does that serve me? Because trust me, if you're holding on to it, you're getting something out of it. Doesn't mean it's a healthy something, but you are getting something out of it. And so lean into that. What are you getting out of it? Because that's your moment of choice. Is this really what I want? Is there more? And that is the constant question that I ask. What else is here for me? What else is here? Just like I do when I pick up a stone. What else is here? Do you know if somebody dumped literally a load of rough diamonds in your driveway, you'd be hard-pressed to identify them from regular rocks? What else is here? What else is here? And then begin to remove any thought. And you can't remove the thought by thinking about the thought. You have to think about something else. The quickest way I get there, and you'll find whatever phrase works for you, is the minute I catch one of those thoughts, ain't a word of truth in it. Ain't's a valid word in the South. You know that. Ain't a word of truth in it. And then ask yourself, what is true? And contemplate that. Allow that to permeate and to marinate and to shift your thinking. Ask questions. Be curious about yourself. Be curious about other people. And then, one of the greatest gifts I learned, and I'm going to wrap up with this. Greatest gift I learned from 12-step recovery, take the cotton out of your ears and put it in your mouth. Learn to listen. Shut up. There's plenty of time for you to say what you need to say, but you're not going to learn a thing about somebody else by talking. Listen, because you're listening to the divine. You're listening to God tell you about God every time you listen to another human being. Let's take this into prayer. And so what I know What I know by resonance in every cell of my being is that there is one infinite, ever-present allness. And that wherever I am, whatever I'm doing, I am in its company. That it breathes my breath. It thinks my thoughts. It dreams my dreams. It is living its life in this container that I call me. Every person I meet, an exquisite, individualized expression of this one. Beyond the appearance of behavior is the truth of being, the one, the infinite, the ever-present allness, manifesting itself in the form of its creation. And so I speak my word this morning, claiming and affirming that we are in a time of revelation. We are in a time where the divine is revealing itself to itself. And it is our great pleasure to simply notice, to live in the aha, to live in that place of curiosity that truly is simply getting to know itself in multiplicity. Thank God there's no sameness. And so I lift up my word for all that are within the sound of my voice, and even those who are not, knowing that what is spoken for one is spoken for all, that we are each awakening to the magnificence of creation. And we live in that curiosity of, there I am. There I am. Wow, I had no idea there I am. That this is our activity of inclusion, the revealing of the brilliance that is already there. Already there. So grateful. So grateful to feel the gratitude, the evidence of faith, the belief in the substance of things not seen. Well up inside me as truth recognizes itself within my being. And so from this gratitude, from this place of absolute unqualified knowing, I release my word into that activity of law, into the soul of creation that only knows to create, that only knows yes, has already said it, and has already made it so. And I invite you, if any of these words have resonated within you, to join me as we say together, Amen, Shalom, Aho, Ashe, and so it is. Thank you, beloveds.
Speaking of the truth, what is absolutely true for me in this moment is my awareness of the gratitude and the appreciation that I feel for Reverend Rafe in this moment, for his willingness to share his wisdom and his story and his insight with us today. So thank you very much, Reverend Rafe. It is now time for our conscious giving, and so I just invite everyone to take their gift and to hold it against their heart and to allow themselves a moment to just be aware of just how truly blessed each and every single one of us is. And to know that as we are grateful for that abundance, that we draw more to be abundant about, and to be grateful about more abundance into our lives, for that is the nature of gratitude itself. And to know that as we are willing to share of some of that abundance, that we powerfully step into the flow of life, that giving and receiving are one and the same. and to know that as we share of our abundance, we add to the attitude of sufficiency on the planet. So I'm grateful for these gifts, however big or small, and I invite everyone to repeat after me. I am grateful for all that I receive. And I'm grateful for all that I may give. And so it is. And so it is. In this moment, please welcome back to his piano the amazing Sandy Hemingway.
I wrote a number of years ago. It's called Where the Sand Meets the Sea. Every soul has a purpose hidden on a distant shore. So we search to find our meaning as we sail through each new storm. Though the ocean of our doubts surround us, we must hold on fast to what we dream, till the day we find peace, where the sand meets the sea. Every life is a journey, teaching us what we must know. Like a ship, we sail its waters, though we don't know where we'll go. Though the ocean of our hopes are endless, we must hold on fast to what we dream, till the day we find peace, where the sand meets the sea. Every heart is a fountain filled with love for us to give. Through our dreams we find our purpose. Through our gifts we fully live. When we open up to our potential and we go to where there is a need, there's an ocean of fulfillment out there, and a golden treasure we'll receive. On that day we'll find peace, where the sand meets the sea.
Thank you very much, Sandy. So together we build a community, the community we call the Triangle Center for Spiritual Living, and we're here for you 24/7. And so if you would like prayer, please go to our website at trianglecsl.org. And on the home page, there's a button in the upper right-hand corner. Click on that button and fill in the request form, and we'll get that prayer sent out to all the ministers and practitioners to pray over this week. So in the comfort of your own home, please stand for our August affirmation for the very first time. Just repeat after me. I am one with divine creation.
I am one with divine creation.
The nature of that divine creation is one of diversity.
The nature of that great divine creation is one of diversity.
I see the wonderful diversity that is expressed uniquely as each of us.
I see the wonderful diversity that is expressed uniquely as each of us.
I embrace the multiplicity of creation as a community expressing divinity on earth.
I embrace the multiplicity of creation as a community expressing divinity on earth.
As such, I claim harmony, acceptance, and love for all.
As such, I claim harmony, acceptance, and love for all.
My heart and my life are filled with delight.
My heart and my life are filled with delight.
I am the activity of inclusion itself.
I am the activity of inclusion itself.
And so it is.
And so it is.
So I invite you to stay for the closing video, the closing song. But please turn within now as I do a final benediction. Recognizing that right where the sand meets the sea, right where I look and see the rugged stones, I release and let go of my perceptions and allow what is to be. And I know that as every person goes forward in life, that they are given everything they need with ease and with grace. I'm so grateful for this day. I'm so grateful for the message we have received today and the beautiful music. And so it is.